Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tankers of all ages, Sir Harry here again with the next episode of the Unlovables, my new series where I feature a tank that everybody or almost everybody really despises, hates playing, and thinks that, you know, this is the reason that Wargaming invented free experience, so you can skip past it, get to the next tier, and carry on with your grind. Today, the French D2, the Tier 3 medium tank. There were a lot of options, and even the opening credits, you can see there's a lot of great candidates at low tier, at high tier, for Unlovable. I think I had nightmares for months after having to grind through this tank to get to the next one. I think I went through this before I knew what free XP actually was for, and so I actually had to grind and unlock everything before I could move up to Tier 4. So this is kind of an extended edition of the Unlovables today. I've got 3 battles for you because, oh my gosh, I've had to fight so many fights in this thing to get a half-decent result. But I figured out a few things. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. Let me know in the comments what you think and if there's other tanks that you think are really unlovable. So our first battle, oh boy, Tier 5. It's a Tier 5. The enemy has a KV-1. This should be interesting. We're on Himmelsdorf, as you can see. We're north spawn, and I figured out after a few battles that, I mean, obviously this thing has no armor. It's only got, what, 40 millimeters on the hull all round, 46 on the turret. So you cannot brawl in this thing. If you're top tier and maybe there's only a couple of Tier 3 tanks and the rest are all Tier 2s, maybe you can take the lead and kind of charge out in front. But certainly in a Tier 5 battle, oh my gosh, no, there's an M8, a really punchy little American tank destroyer. There's all kinds of tanks here that could just absolutely make me miserable and ruin my day. You see our Panzer 1C and our Panzer 4D charge down the 3 line. So they haven't seen anything yet. I figure it's safe to cut across here because I certainly don't want to take anything on the side from any of these tanks on the enemy team. Certainly nothing at Tier 4 or 5 because my battle would be over pretty quick. And you can see now we spot a couple of tanks down there. The KV-1's coming up this way up the 2 line. And, oh, there's the Crusaders down there, actually. So I start putting some shots at him. You can see I lose some penetration going through that concrete post. But then I managed to get some shots into the front of his turret. And we talked about in my Crusader video, it's about 50 millimeters of armor. Not a lot of armor, and it's pretty flat as well. So that really doesn't help. This gun has 66 millimeters of penetration. This is the top gun, the 47 millimeter for AP rounds, and of course more for APCR. So here's the KV-1. He's interested in somebody else. He's not shooting at me. I try to aim at his lower plate, and of course this gun is so terribly inaccurate, 0.39 accuracy, that most of my shots actually go where I aim them are a tiny bit high, and into his upper plate, and angled like that, I'm never going to pen, even with APCR, as you can see. So we've got some tanks down south there that rushed ahead. They're starting to get chewed up a little bit. And now I spot the Type 91. This is the Tier 3 Japanese heavy tank, and it's pretty unlovable, as is its big brother, the Type 95. As you saw, I updated my opening sequence to placate a friend of mine in my clan who really likes the B1 and took offense to the fact I had the French B1 heavy tank in my opening sequence. So the Type 95s are now, in the meantime, the Type 91 takes some hits, and he disappears. Now I notice he actually did back up a little bit. So we pull around the corner. The rate of fire on this tank's actually pretty good. It's only a 2.6 second rather reload, and a 2.3 second aim time. So the gun handling isn't terrible other than that absolutely atrocious accuracy. So we take out the Type 91. I actually managed to kill something in my D1. That's great. And the enemy M3 Stuart now derps into the house there. I think he was worried about getting shot there, and he was looking at me instead of looking where he was going. So he pulls out. I get a shot into him. I back up. And we start exchanging fire. He hits me. I actually bounce a shot. I bounced a shot. 46 mils on the front of the turret, 40 on the front of the hull. I don't know what he hit, but hey, I bounced it. That was fantastic. And I see the KV-1 starting to push up the 2 line there. I do not want to be at that corner when he comes around the edge because he'll just absolutely destroy me. The Valentine shows up now. He's got really good frontal armor for a low tier tank, and I don't hold out any hope of penetrating him. So I go after the Stuart. I intend to pull around the house here. I take one shot. You can see there on the move. This thing's terrible for accuracy. I put auto aim on. I do get one shot. The Valentine hits me in the back there. It doesn't do any damage. Damages my track. But then he does get a damaging hit in, and I realize, yeah, no, I didn't pull far enough ahead. So we swing down around to the south here. I don't want to stay where I am because, again, if that KV-2 came out into the main road, he might have a shot at me, and I'm really a little worried about him. Valentine comes around. We exchange shots. I hit him. He hits me. He's on really low health now, and we both back up. I side scrape out. What am I thinking? Yeah, okay, 40 millimeters of armor. I'm not going to stop a lot side scraping. But luckily, one of my teammates takes out the Valentine. So now artillery appears. Artillery is charging forward gallantly, I guess. It's 11-9. We were actually behind at one point. My team's pulled it even and now ahead. I get one shot into the Russian arty there and can't quite reload in time before he disappears. So I'm coming around the corner. I love my arty kills, and I want to bag one in this little French D2. But my team takes him out first, unfortunately. So now it's just the KV-1 here in the western side of the map, and I'm not entirely sure how to proceed, but luckily a lot of my teammates are coming in to help. We've got a Skoda T-24, there's an M4 coming. We've got all kinds of tanks surrounding this KV-1, and he's not long for the world. I do decide to aim just in the event that he does come out. I've got an HE round loaded, and no, unfortunately the M4 takes him out. So now we decide, okay, what are we going to do? And you know what? There's an M8 up on the hill there, and he's pretty fast, and he's got a pretty devastating gun, at least at this tier. So I'm not going to even think about challenging him. I'm going to head down and think about capping it out. And I am concerned, though, so I start looking down the alleys as I'm going in case he does show up. And I could put a shot at him, and it might scare him or make him hesitate for a second, but it's certainly not going to, not likely to damage him or do anything. So I head down to the cap here, and eventually the Panzer 1C shows up and absolutely does a drive-by assassination on our Martyr 2. That Martyr 2, of course, doesn't have a lot of armor, and the Panzer 1C takes him out. And I'm thinking about heading back to help out with the Panzer 1C, but you know what? We've got all kinds of Tier 5 tanks up there. They're not really in any real danger, and the Panzer 1C is going to get taken out pretty quick. So there he goes. He's taken out, and the M8 was last spotted on the hill, and I think, you know what? There's a chance that, he might come racing down, especially now that one of my teammates has started to cap the Skoda. And I figure, you know what, I'm not going to chase an M8 around. I'm just going to go and help out, get some cap points, maybe get a few more experience out of the battle. And I do come around the corner pretty cautiously, though, because, again, unless I know exactly where that M8 is, I don't want him coming around that the corner on that road in the south there and putting a shot into me, because I'm basically a one-shot for him right now. I think pretty much regardless of which gun he's using. So, yeah, take a look. You see I've got binos mounted here. I did kind of pimp this tank out a little bit. I've got vents and I've got binos, and I think I've got a gun laying drive as well mounted here. And I did actually invest in 100% crew because I wanted to try to get a good result, and that's just that much harder with a 75 or goodness heavens, a 50% crew. So yeah, we head down to cap again. I'm keeping my eye on that corner just in case the M8 emerges, and no sign of him. I think he's decided to ride the battle out. So I pull in here. I pull in behind the Skoda, just again in case the M8 makes an appearance. At least I'll have a bit of a meat shield there, and I could get a shot or two into the M8, because I probably could take him out if he doesn't get a shot into me, and of course I guess I'm kind of using my teammate there, hiding behind him. But we wind up capping. Pretty good battle. I was happy with that. It wasn't great, but it was okay. And it survived a Tier 5 battle. So there you check number 1 in the box. Yep, survived a battle, and we actually won. So that was worth a first-class mastery badge. I did lose some credits because I was spamming a lot of APCR downrange at those tanks, especially that KV-1, to no effect, as you saw there. Of course, he was pretty well angled. Didn't get a lot of XP or damage, but I did okay. I think I'm pretty happy with that. And, landed 15 of my 21 shots, so that's not bad. The accuracy isn't terrible, I guess, if you aim. The 2.3 second aim time and the 2.6 second reload are good, though. So you're saying, hey, Sir Harry, you were cheating. You pimped out your tank. You had 100% crew. Show us what the D2 can really do. Okay, here we go. I recruited a brand new 50% crew. I've got a couple of battles with them right now. Took all the equipment off my tank, and now we're in a battle on Swamp. And let's see how this goes. This is another Tier 5 battle. I'm bottom tier, and look at that. I'm actually right at the bottom of the table there. And I don't have a warm and fuzzy about this one at all. I was going to kind of skip past this initial point. I was going to speed it up, go to 2 or 4 times replay or whatever. But I think it's really important that you guys watch this and watch the D2 try to get up a hill. Yeah, this is pretty depressing. You really have to pick where you want to go on the battlefield, where you think you're going to be able to make an impact, and someplace that if you have to get back, say, to help defend cap, you can get there relatively quickly because it's not that far a distance, and because if you just charge out, even if you don't get shot at, you're going to be irrelevant by the time the battle's going on. You have to pick where you want to go and where you're going to have the best effect. So we've got some guys covering the south ridge there. I was thinking about heading up there and kind of playing like a TD. And I think, you know what, no, we'll head over here. The enemy team, if they push a lot down the one line towards the castle there, we don't have a lot of tanks over there, so I thought we might be in trouble. This thing has a top speed of 23 kilometers an hour. Obviously on this kind of hill and this kind of terrain, it's not going to happen. And you saw there I was at like 10, I think, going up that first hill coming out of the spawn. So up we go. I think I can. And I find a bush. And this actually turns out to be a pretty good little location for me. Again, the gun has a high rate of fire, not super accurate, but even if you don't pen stuff, if people hear shots landing around them or if shots bouncing off them even, it can cause them to pause. Like good players probably know what to do, but less experienced players may kind of freak out a little bit. They may say, oh, I got to pull back under cover, I've got to hide, and that takes their gun out of the battle, right? So that gives your team an advantage. So we've got an Su-85 coming up here. I do manage to land a shot into his side. That was great, a tier 5 tank. I actually damaged him. I wasn't so lucky with most of these tanks in the battle, but hey, that's all right. I'm happy with that. Again, I'm maybe giving these guys a moment to pause and think and say, oh, maybe I need to be cautious because I'm taking flanking fire. You can see on the eastern edge of the map there, we're not doing super well. We had one tank push up north by himself, which is never a good idea, unless you're a scout and you can get out of trouble really quickly. He got taken out. Now we just got that Stug 3 watching. T-28 now is pushing down, and he's got a TD coming with him there. So we're doing okay from this position. We're getting some flank shots there. You can see the tier 5 Russian premium, their Churchill 3. I was bouncing APCR off his side, but my team manages to take him out. I tracked the KV-1S. That was a really lucky shot. I was really smiling when I did that. And I get one penetrating shot into him, and then my team finishes him. So I'll actually get some assistance damage for that. That was great. The M3 Lee appears, and not a lot of armor on the Lee, unless it's really extremely angled and you're firing a really low pen gun at it. But he gets taken out by my team as well. So this western flank is not looking too bad now. I was really worried initially. It looked like the enemy completely was going to overwhelm us with numbers. But, between some of us here in the back picking away at the enemy and the guys up front who were brawling with them, we're actually doing okay. And it'll be just a minute there before it's only 2 enemy tanks left on that flank. So that's pretty good. That flank's secured. And, oh, there we go. So the eastern flank is kind of crumbled. And you see the Ram 2 emerges from that little TD ramp there to the east. I grossly overestimate the shell speed, the velocity of my shells, and I actually give too much lead to this Ram and put 2 shots in front of him and not hitting him at all. But my team do manage to take him out. I'm sure he was doing a runner for the artillery there. The east isn't looking good. We haven't seen that T-28 in a while, and I'm sure it's only a matter of time before he shows up. So let's consolidate in the west first, and then think about repelling any kind of assault from the east. So this T-67, of course, the Tier 5 American tank destroyer, very, very fast, very high rate of fire, and enough alpha to kill me in 3 shots at least, probably best case scenario. So he's hiding behind that building. He is on very, very low health, so I'm thinking, you know what, I can take a shot from him, and I can kill him. And he does pop out. I think probably not expecting to see me there. But, oh, there's the Matilda. So we get out of harm's way here. And you see Artie shooting at me as well. The artillery seem to take a really keen interest in me here for the next few minutes. I guess they think I'm a one-shot probably, so they want to get my gun out of the battle. There we go again, more artillery. So our Panzer IV H charges the Matilda. Matilda's got a super high rate of fire, really good pen, not a lot of alpha though. So you can see now that Matilda's taking some damage. I get 1 shot into his side, he's ignoring me, and we managed to kill him. Of course, that was APCR, it is a Matilda even from the side, and I'm in a tier 3 tank, but hey, we killed another tank, so that's great, 2 kills. This battle is not looking too bad. So our Panzer IV H races up the west flank here. He's, I guess, going arty hunting, and there's nothing I like better than a good arty hunt. So even though I can't keep up with him, I decide to follow and see if I can get any pot shots at the arty while he's racing into the enemy cap. So now you can see the T-28's popped up again on the mini-map there on the 9 line, and all we've got standing between him and the artillery is an M8A1 all by himself. He's way too far forward, he's isolated, he's got no covering fire, and he's got nowhere to run. He can't flee back to our base because the T-28 just pops around the rock and shoots him full of holes from the back. The artillery, of course, cannot really engage the T-28 either because of the rocks in that area, and the T-28 just has to be patient. He can wait behind a rock, he can drop spot, and then he can pop out, take a pot shot at the M8, and then get under cover again before artillery can react. And there you go, that M8's gone. That T-28 now has a completely wide open lane directly to artillery. I think the M8 might have been smarter either taking a bush location on that peninsula covering the avenue of approach down the 9 line, or taking up a position down somewhere in the center south of the map overlooking the artillery position where he could have got shots on that T-28 as he was trying to kill our artillery. So I'm under no illusions that I'm going to be able to get back to save the arty, but you know what, I figure I might be able to make it to that south ridge and get some shots into that T-28 from range while he's attacking the artillery, weaken him up a bit, and then maybe, if he does make it up to try to reset, my team will have less trouble taking him out. So you can see there, I don't have a shot. He's on the eastern side of that little tank ramp peninsula area there, heading down the water feature towards the artillery, and it's not too long before they're going to start getting taken out. You see, a Hetzer was spotted up at the enemy base, so I'm probably really happy I didn't keep going up there. The Hetzer has the big derp gun. He could one-shot me very easily if he was able to penetrate a high explosive round. So now the T-28's picking the artillery apart, and looking at the damage he's doing and how quickly he's shooting, he's probably got the 57 millimeter gun. Again, very high rate of fire, not a lot of alpha, but it can whittle you down very, very, very quickly, and the T-28, being surprisingly mobile, can actually circle around some targets and pick them apart. So, I'm not going to make it out there now to save the arty. I decided to get behind a bush here, and I figure, you know what, we're capping. The T-28 probably figures he's fast enough to get back to try to reset. So I'm going to take up a bush location here, and he's going to do one of two things most likely. He's going to race right over this ridge to take the most direct route back to the enemy cap, or he's going to push west around that rock that you see next to me there and come up the kind of the 2-3 line. And either way, there's a good chance I'll get a spot on him and at least give my team some warning. And there he is. Okay, he came down. I picked the wrong bush. I was too close to the ridge. I'm within 50 meters. He proximity spots me and immediately gets shots into me. But he is using the 57 millimeter, so he takes a couple of small bites out of me quickly. I get the shots into him and take him out. So there we go, another first class. Did pretty well, tier 5 battle. I thought I might have had a chance at ace tanker there. Fire for effect again, the big one, the bare minimum sort of acceptable standard for me. Didn't take home a lot of experience, didn't do a lot of damage, but I killed 3 tanks, and I kind of maybe kill stealed that T-67, but you know what? I killed a tier 5. That's great. Penetrated 15 of my 21 shots. That's not too bad. And again, I survived, right? I spent a lot of money on APCR. You have to in this tank, in tier 5 especially. And I can hear you saying now, okay, Harry, so what? So you've shown us a couple of first classes. Are you going to man up here? Are you able to actually get an ace tanker in this thing? Well, I'm going to show you one more replay. I'm not going to give it away, and we'll see what happens. Now, very relieved here. I'm in a tier 4 battle. We're on Muravanka, and again, in the theme that you have to kind of play this very much as a supporting tank, even at tier 4. Again, if you're top tier, tier 3, and there's only a few tier 3s and there's lots of tier 2s running around, yeah, you could probably take a more aggressive posture. But again, even at tier 4, I think I'm going to be a support tank. There are still some pretty dangerous enemy tanks out there, and I could get picked apart pretty quickly, again, with only 40 mils of armor on the hull and 46 on the turret. I'm going to try to put this gun to use, get into a position where I can actually put rounds down range quickly. Accounting for the accuracy, I'm not going to hit a lot, but you know what, again, if I can even be ricocheting off some targets, I might kind of cause them to pause and distract them, and that might give my team some opportunities. So I'm heading to One Tree Hill here. This is the place I like to go sometimes in a TD on this map. Of course, they've nerfed a lot of the good TD locations on this map, but most of the bushes are gone, or they're now on reverse slopes like the one you see there to my right. So I'm going to create my own bush. I'm going to knock this tree over, or at least that's my intent. But then I get looking down the sniper mode. I actually missed the tree there. You can see me driving by it. So this western flank of Muravanka is, completely overrun with tanks from both teams. You can see there's only a couple of tanks from our team that went to the woods, and that's often not a good thing. If the enemy sends enough tanks east, then they get overrun, we get flanked, we're cornered up in one little corner of the map, and the battle's over pretty quick. Luckily, the enemy team kind of does the same thing. They send most of their forces this way as well. And you can see now I've got a Type 95, a Panzer 4D, poking out around the corner, and I'm getting some good side shots into them, but I do get spotted, and of course I back off very quickly. I've lost almost half my health, and again, I don't have a lot to start with, so I want to be kind of cautious here. So I come back up in a different location, hoping I've drop spotted by now. That Russian T-50 there, way up on the hill, I can just see a tiny bit of his turret. Luckily, I'm outside of his view range. He's within my render range, though. Of course, my team is spotting him, but I can't get a shot at him, not with 0.39 accuracy. So now you can see shots are starting to land around me, and I actually bounced a shot. I think that was from the T-15 off to my left somewhere there. My team kills him. He was distracted by me. He was busy shooting at me and not paying attention to what was going on around him. He gets taken out. So I don't get XP for that, unfortunately. But you know what? That's kind of a way of making a contribution, I guess. I'm being a meat shield in my D2. Could you say that? No, probably not. So I'm just firing regular AP rounds now. That Panzer 4D is still there, and the A-20 showed up. That's actually a pretty dangerous little Russian light tank. It's kind of like a little zippy T-34 almost. Pretty capable little tank at this tier, and he probably shouldn't be playing this game. We've got our DW2 there, not a great heavy tank, but a pretty high rate of fire, and he could do some damage there. The Panzer 4D is almost dead, and there you go. I get the kill shot on him. So I killed the tier 4. That's great. And continue putting rounds down range of that A-20. And now the B-1 appears, tier 4 French heavy tank. We've seen him in a lot of these battles so far, these low-tier battles. And I'm putting shots into him. The armor is trolling me. It is a little bouncy sometimes. I'm firing APCR. And the accuracy of the gun does let me down. A few shots fly wide, but I'm getting him through the front of the hull, which is great. Bounce that last one, and I back off because, again, I think I'm spotted. I don't have sixth sense here on this tank, but I want to drop spot and just kind of zip back and forth a little bit, and then we pop up again. And we see if we can reestablish contact with any of these enemy tanks. The western flank's looking pretty good. You can see both of our tanks out in the forest there are dead. The enemy DW2's down there somewhere. And the AMX-40, the Duck, is trundling up the middle, looking for breadcrumbs or whatever he does. And the B1 pops up again, so I get shots into him, trying to whittle him down very, very gradually. Of course, I don't have a lot of alpha on this gun. I'm only doing about 55 on average, and it takes a while to eat through even a tier 4 heavy tank. Somebody on our team puts a big hit into him. He's a one shot for me now, I think, so I keep putting rounds. I'm missing. The accuracy is letting me down. I aim, and there we go. He disappears, but I get the blind shot for the kill. So that's pretty much it for the western flank. We've got the enemy Covenanter and AMX-40 in the middle there. They're getting surrounded. We have tanks on the northern side of the hill, the southern side of the hill, coming down on them from the middle. And oh, there we go. There's a bit of a banzai charge. Mutually assured destruction as one of our tanks takes out the enemy Covenanter. I'm coming over a little ridge here. I'm probably going to get up to max speed here for a second, but that's not going to last very long. So I think I've demonstrated pretty aptly in the last battle just how slow this tank actually is. It's not like watching paint dry, it's like watching someone watching paint dry. That's how bad it is. And I'll spare you about 2 minutes of me climbing over this hill, turning around and climbing back over this hill to get shots on the AMX. I do put a shot into his flank. I probably shouldn't have stopped there. I might have been able to maintain his flank, and I can't get another penetration in before he's killed by someone else on my team. So the rest of the battle, the Covenanter goes down and starts the cap. I trundle down to try to catch up with him. The enemy DW2 never ever shows his face again. I guess he's just decided to rage quit, or he's hiding. And hey, there we go, ace tanker! Yay! I cannot tell you how happy I was to see that after all the battles I had in this tank. Oh my gosh. I might wound up getting 766 base XP, so I was happy with that. Top by XP for the game. And I had the most damage of any tank in a tier 4 battle, 831 damage. Wow. Okay, so that's probably about as good as it gets in the D2. I hit most of my shots 22 or 34, and you can see again the APCR made it basically impossible to contribute in this tank and make a profit at the same time. So that's the D2, a tank that I maintain is pretty much unlovable, but you know, it's not entirely unplayable. If you're middle or bottom tier, you absolutely have to take a supporting role and be prepared to open up your pockets and spend a lot of credits on premium ammunition. There's really no other way to contribute in a higher tier battle in this tank. And you know what, tier 3 with a lot of tier 2s, you might be able to be a bit of a bully and raffle stomp some lower tiers, but you know, it's so slow that you're going to have to really be lucky and position yourself well. Is there a tank that you think is unlovable and maybe also unplayable? Let me know in the comments. I'll see what I can do. I've already started on the Type 95, and oh my gosh, that's a terrible tank. No, it may be unplayable as well. It certainly is unlovable so far. This is Sir Harry. Consider subscribing. Click like if you liked the video. Leave some comments. Thanks for watching. Cheers.